Today we're going to talk about dual enrollment opportunities versus higher education expectations. And why is this topic so important? This topic is extremely important because school systems across the country are now offering opportunities that parents, community organizations, for profits, entrepreneur, and basically the community may not be familiar with, but most importantly, parents are unaware of. And even those that are aware are uncertain how to go about explaining or understanding what dual enrollment is. And so, dual enrollment is just one side of the coin. The other side are the higher education expectations that community colleges, four-year colleges, trade and tech schools are expecting students to walk into day one and know how to transition. And that's where the gap comes in. It's the dual enrollment and the higher education expectations. And what you'll find out through this talk is that you'll understand that dual enrollment opportunities are absolutely a God given opportunity that students should be taken advantage of on so many levels. But the fall comes in what higher education expectations that are out there that the students are unfamiliar with that continue to lead to students dropping out of school, students becoming overwhelmed, students becoming fearful because they are now no longer believing in themselves. If they're not coming to the table and how to effectively communicate exactly what their intent are and how to balance them out, and even time management according to the norm versus the exception, they're going to fall flat on their face. And by the end of this, hopefully you'll have enough tools in your toolbox, knowledge in your repertoire, and being able to effectively not just communicate and take action. If you are a person or a parent or a program or an organization that can assist in dual enrollment opportunities, but also to set those um, goals and milestones for students as they transition to higher education expectations. And so the first question is, what is dual enrollment by school system standards? Now, the reason why school system standards are added in there is because a student can go to high school and go to college, but it's not through a school system. If a student is taking courses during the day as a high school student, and then they are independently enrolled in their local community college or four-year college, that's not considered dual enrollment. Dual enrollment is defined when school systems have a partnership between the local school system and their local community college. For example, in Baltimore County Public Schools, they have an MOU with CCBC, Community College of Baltimore County. Baltimore City Public Schools have a MOU with BCC, Baltimore City Community College, BCCC. PG County School System has a MOU with PG County Community College. The list goes on and on. Harford County Public Schools now have a MOU with Harford County Community College. And so when there is a partnership in place between a school system and a community college, that is identified as an opportunity for dual enrollment. And dual enrollment allows a student, as a high school student, to take courses at their local community college and earn dual credit. Now, those dual credits will differ based on the approval courses that are standard between the school system and the community college. So there is a dual enrollment approved course listing. If you're Parent, if you're unfamiliar with it, or even a student, ask, because it is not widely publicized. So there is a dual enroll approved course listing, and on that dual enroll course listing that is approved by both entities, the school system and the community college, when a student takes a course listed on that um, listing, then they earn both college credit and high school credit. If the course that the students take on the community college level is not listed on that dual enroll approved course, they will not earn high school credit for it, but they will earn credits on the college level if it is a not a remedial course, and they're still considered dual enroll. So that goes a little deeper, and I'll come back and do a separate discussion and talk as it relates to the dual enroll approved courses and a little more in depth about the dual enroll process. But the dual enrollment, again, is considered when a school system has a direct agreement with a local community college. And they are popping up all over the place because the opportunity that dual enrollment provides for students are monumental. First and foremost, you want to understand that dual enrollment affords a student to go to college through the dual enrollment program free. So a student can take a approved course and even a non-approved course through the partnership between the school system and the local community college, and they don't pay any money out of pocket. Sounds wonderful, great. Yes, it is. I have both my younger two children who are dual enroll students, my Haley and my BG Bean. My Haley was actually able to graduate a year early because she became a dual enroll student. At the same time she was in high school full time, she took dual enroll courses that satisfied part of her requirements for a high school diploma, as well as earn those same courses that work towards a degree earning process. My BJ Bean, who is currently a ninth grader, started college through the dual enroll program before he even started high school. And his goal remains to graduate high school in 2 years. And through the dual enroll program, he just solidified his dreams to become true. As a ninth grader, he took and completed 18 credits. So he has enough. He's earned 18 credits towards his college degree, which are all medium and higher level courses, almost up to the 200 level. And those same courses satisfied his high school credits towards graduation. So now, before he even finishes his freshman year, he has roughly 21, 22 credits and will be a senior in the fall. Pretty cool, right? So understanding what dual enrollment is by the school system standards help to enable a parent and a student to understand the possibilities that are out there to matriculate easier or at least smoother into the higher education setting. And dual enrollment not only is a wonderful opportunity to consider and take advantage of if schedule, maturity level, and academic rigor allows for the student, but it gives the student a greater sense of freedom, understanding in terms of autonomy, understanding how the college platform and courses are generated, and they're learning how to be more responsible in a sense of what will be the expectations of them as a college student once they graduate from high school. So, dual enrollment by school system standards, once again, is an agreement between the local school system and their local community college. And in most cases, the tuition is covered by the school system as long as the student continue to keep up their grades, because a free education doesn't allow a student to go to the community college and get D's and E's. Okay? Because that will flunk them out. Now, dual enrollment opportunities are great, but there's also a greater need to understand parents and students and program directors and nonprofits and any organizations that are in support of a higher education pathway for your targeted audience. And so understanding higher education expectations are gravely different from school system standards. Same thing with trade tech schools. There are standards, not just in terms of attendance, not just in terms of engagement, in terms of extracurricular, but mainly in the classroom. And this is where students fall short because they're not getting this information in enough time prior to graduating from high school, or the reality of the expectations are not setting in until it's too late. The dual enroll opportunity can help minimize that and maximize success. And so when we think in terms of higher education expectations, a D could be passing at your local community college. Unfortunately, those D's will not be transferable to four-year colleges. And even a C, that is a transferable grade, is still frowned upon because you're in college. You should be aspiring for A's and B's. And so understanding attendance, communication, because now parents and students, your parents can't pick up the phone and call your professor like they can your teacher in high school. You, student, are the driving force behind your success and your failure in communication. It is your responsibility as a student and parent. This is where you encourage your student to understand out the box, the framework that of their higher education expectations. Every course that you take in college has a syllabi or syllabus. In the syllabus for every single course, even including PE, has all the expectations, all the assignments, all the projects, every test, the reading that you're expected to do. It has a link to your books or that are available digital, or those that you need to purchase from paperback. And it's giving you your professor's name, email address, phone number, and work hours, including virtual work hours. So those expectations that are set in the syllabi is a governing body, so to speak, the Bible for a student's success if they follow it, or failure if they don't. Included in the syllabi is also the course's rules on late assignments, missing assignments, and makeup work. And 9 out of 10 professors are adhering to the syllabi, unless it's a very special scenario. And as long as students take the time to read the syllabi in a syllabus and really use it as a guide for success, the likelihood of them doing better than a C or a D raises tenfold. Typically, when students don't do well, they haven't read the syllabi, they don't have good time management or organization, they are not all in on that subject matter, they unfortunately are putting other things ahead of the quality time that really needs to be devoted to their schoolwork and studying, and really may not understand the resources made available to them. And so when we see a student struggling with C's and D's, it comes back to them not understanding higher education expectations and the part that they play in it. So, students and parents, encourage your students when they are considering dual enrollment or they're transitioning from high school to 4 year or high school to 2 year or high school to trade tech. Read the syllabi, ask questions, become familiar with resources on the campus, such as tutoring service, mentoring service, and their number one best friend, even if you don't like the person, is the advisor, right? And to begin to let their people know who they are, even if they don't need services. So we've talked about what dual enrollment is by school system standards. We talked about understanding higher education expectations. And now I want to dive into disparity issues between dual enrollment opportunities and higher education expectations that you as a student, you as a parent or guardian, or a person that is looking into what this means, or a program director or nonprofit or youth centered or youth led organization that is working on college and career readiness, and you're developing a blueprint for higher education pathways in terms of college, there are disparities that exist. And these disparities absolutely will always exist between institutional entities because school systems were not designed to align with community colleges. Community colleges don't necessarily 100% align with 4 year colleges. 4 year colleges don't always necessarily align with every master's program, and so forth for doctoral programs and even trade tech school. So, research has to be done to understand the institutional bias, prejudice, and conflicts, as well as similarities. But in this area, I want to go a little deeper than institutional conflict or collaboration. The disparities that really exist lies within the student. And I really want you to pull out a pencil and piece of paper right now, because in the school systems, there is an approach that is utilized because there are 3 levels of students in education, really in all phases of education, but mainly K-12. Those are your higher achieving students that are going to do well regardless. They just got it together. They're typically taking your AP, GT, honors courses, and they knocking it out the box. Then you have your students that are below the 8 ball, the bell curve, and they stay below the bell curve. They struggling, they're getting D's and C's, their assignments are not on time, they don't necessarily do well on tests. And I'm not talking about special ed, I'm talking about students that unfortunately just fall below the curve because of a number of variables. And no matter how much they have aspirations in their mind to do better, something just isn't clicking for that reality, that dream to become their reality. And then we have students that are dead smack in the middle. They can be an A one day, a D another day, a C another day, and they can end up on a higher end of the spectrum at the end of the quarter, or the lower end of the spectrum at the end of the quarter, or they just mellow straight across. And I'm really speaking to those average to below average students. And even, I shouldn't say that, it's all students. And the disparity that comes in that most school systems allow is a crutch and a negative as it relates to higher education expectations for success. And what do I mean by that? You're probably asking, Dr. Dorsey, what are you saying? And what that disparity is that most school systems, as innocent as it is a deficit to the student's growth and development, accountability, and expectations in real world. For example, a student there could be an assignment in a syllabi from, let's say, math, and we're talking K-12, and the due date is May 1st. And a student, if he or she may not have turned in that assignment on the due date, still has time to turn it in. And let's say that student turns it in on May 5th. Student gets the grade back, same class, math. The original due date was May 1st. They turn it in on May 5th for whatever reason. Teacher grades it. The grade is below passing. The student now has an opportunity to redo it again for a higher grade. Follow it again. Math. Assignment due May 1st. Write this down. May 1st. Student, high school student, turns it in, or even middle school student. It's not even about just high school. But let's say student turns it in May 5th. Teacher grades it. Student gets the grade back. The grade is not passing. The student who turned an assignment, now that was already late, is now given an opportunity to now resubmit the grade for a better grade, a passing grade. Following? Now, this is a standard process because the goal, not that is necessarily undermining or manipulating the outcome, so to speak, but it's giving the students an opportunity to pass. Because that's the goal of education, is passing, right? Let me pause there for a second. I'm wondering if you've seen an article in, I think it's Marlin, Texas. It just came out like yesterday. In this ISD district in Texas, there are 33 seniors in the class. 5 seniors are eligible to graduate. 28 are not, due to grades and assessment tests that they didn't pass. So the ISD district in Texas, in this school, is pushing back graduation 1 month with hopes that these other 28 seniors will be able to earn grades to pass the courses to earn their high school diploma. Now, forget the 5 students that did what they were supposed to do all year, that should be walking across the stage today, really like yesterday. They now have to wait a whole month in order to earn their high school diploma, which means that their grades will not be finalized to send off to necessarily their college choice by the deadline of June 30th or July 1st. So now their lives are held up due to, unfortunately, these other 28 seniors who have not earned the grade or the assessment required in their like English or English 10 or geography, which are assessment tests, which are state mandated to earn a diploma. And so when processes such as described in math, assignment due May 1st, student turning it on May 5th, student teacher grades it, student doesn't get a good grade, the student turns around and resubmit again for a better grade. Unfortunately, this becomes a part of their behavior pattern of expectation for success. Not that in unique circumstances this process arises. This is all the time. And not all teachers, but it's just a policy that school systems follow. Some teachers do, some teachers don't, but for the most part, the students are trained to follow this process. Absolutely. Do we believe, do we know that they have good intention to turn in assignments on time? Yes. We want to believe that as parents, as coaches, as program directors, as organizations. But unfortunately, when students don't have time management and organizational skills to their advantage, they fall behind. And when they fall behind in one class, they fall behind in several classes. But this process of a late submission and then making up the assignment for a better grade, unfortunately, is a crutch and a deficit for them because that is not part of higher education expectations for success. And when students are used to this protocol, process, outcome, it's what they're looking at for their self-esteem and self-confidence to grow. I got an A, I got an A, I got an A, I got an A, got an A, and that's great. But how did you get the A? How did you reach the outcome? And is the process indicative of the outcome? Do they equal? No. And then college, trade school, undergrad, community college, 4-year, master's, PhD. When there is a syllabi with a due date, the professors are less lenient in giving extensions. They're less, and there are no resubmissions in assignments. If you submit it, it could be the wrong assignment. The onus is on the student, not the professor, because it comes into the values and the ethics of the higher education progression. If the expectation is May 1st, the student should be striving for May 1st. If the students happen to turn it in late, even on May 5th and fail, then the students failed. It is what it is. And in K-12, it's not it is what it is, because extra time and extra efforts and to get the kid to the level of passing, which is what people will look at the end of the day. Well, they got an A, so they must know what they're doing. They on time, they understand the concept, they get it, they're going to do well on assessment, not looking at the process that they followed. And when the students take that behavior of lateness, redos, not being on time, being disorganized, looking for makeup, looking for extension into higher education, they are destined to fail all the time. And failure is not just measured by an academic grade, because we know in higher education, when a student's grades fall below a 2.0, or they're dealing with a lot of D's and C's, then they're most likely going to end up in their advisor's office and or the financial aid office. Better the advisor than a financial aid office, because at least with the advisor, they can mentor them and figure out what's going wrong. Is it the content they don't understand? Is it time management? Is it organization? Is it tutoring? And they can give them resources, which means that their grade point average is still above a 2.0. But when a student's grade point average falls below a 2.0, not only will they see their advisor, they're going to see their financial aid counselor. And unfortunately, in higher education, when your education is contingent upon progress and success and grades, and you're not meeting it, the student will be placed on academic probation. And in some colleges and university and higher education settings, institutions, if they fail a course, financial aid will not pay for that repeated course. Where are my graduate students at? You understand, right? So if that student fails below the expected grade and they have to repeat it, 10 out of 10 institutions will require them to repeat the course but pay out of pocket. That's probably more so graduate than undergrad, but you never know. The point is not to get to the point of failing a class due to things that are due to the behavior and processes that are learned from their formative years. And so, how do we close the gap? You're probably wondering. So, again, recap: dual enrollment versus higher education expectation. Disparity issues come in a multitude of areas: institutional collaboration versus competition, institutional similarities and alignments versus differences that the student, the parent, or whoever the mentor or coach is need to dig deep into. Syllabi. The student is expected to read the syllabi and know and use and follow that Bible for each class as written because it's all there. And if they don't, there's a problem. The process in which there's a difference between higher education and getting grades versus K-12. K-12 has a system that works so that they can produce students that look like they got it all together. And most of them do. Don't get me wrong. But there's a little tweaking that needs to take place. Higher education doesn't allow for those gray areas. If there's a due date, the due date is the due date. If you have a day or two behind, then it is the student's responsibility to communicate with hopes that the professor will accept the assignment, which is the professor's option. Once a student in higher education submits the assignment, there are no resubmissions. So it is up to the student to understand that every I dotted, T is crossed, and everything that is required to be in that submission is in there, because that's it. And if a student missed a major test, it's at the professor's discretion to allow the student to take the test. Communication is key, but there are differences between K-12 and higher education. And once these discretionary issues are brought to the forefront and acknowledged, then there is a greater opportunity for success. And last but not least, everything lies with the student. It is up to the student to be proactive. And if the student isn't ready to be proactive, then some closing of the gaps have to happen, which takes us to the next topic. How do we close the gap for greater success between dual enrollment and higher education? Parents, students, program director, coaches, help the students to understand, to face their truth. It's that simple. At least it sounds like it in theory. What is their truth? What is the honesty? Are they procrastinators? Do they know how to research? Do they know how to communicate on all levels? Email, phone number, phone calls? Do they know how to approach the professor? Do they understand the importance of a syllabus? Do they have good time management? Not in theory, not in concept, but practical application. Do they know how to balance their lives between hanging out, time for themselves, working, college, peace of mind, boyfriend, girlfriend? Do they? Are they night people? Are they day people? Do they have a healthy eating habit? Or are they all upside down? Are they serving two evils on both ends of the spectrum? Late night, early morning, late night. Are they taking naps in the middle of the day? Are they in the right classes? I don't know. But these tangible variables, when they know who they are and they know what makes them successful versus what doesn't, their strength versus their weaknesses, it allows them to be better advocates in closing the gap as it relates to them in their short-term and long-term goals. So a student who does not have good time management and organizational, which is about 99.99999% of humans, could very well balance the transition between high school and college if they knew how to apply it in real time. Now, let me give an example. Most students have a book that they use. Is called a planner, and K5 or K8 give planners right away. That's just part of, well, at least elementary. Some middle schools offer it, some don't. But a planner is absolutely something that's critical. But a planner shouldn't be something that's purchased. It's meant to be utilized. And not just utilized in the sense of writing things in, but really writing things down and creating a to-do list and then marking it hot, cold, yellow, green, red, right? And then taking a to-do list and rolling over into the next day. That's effectively using it. Most students, because they haven't really received not necessarily the training, but the support and the force and application, they're really not applying what they've learned. But when they're able to apply it, they're able to see the big picture. So even if a school system allowed a due date, a late submission, and then a resubmission, because people are late in things for a variety of reasons. But it's not the lateness that we want to address, it's the behavior behind the lateness, right? And again, when a person is overwhelmed in one subject, then they're overwhelmed in multiple subjects. And if you ask a kid today, you need help? Nope, I'm good. I got it. I'm cool. I don't need your help. They give you these looks like, right? And as an adult, as a parent, you're like, okay, you got this. They don't have it. They don't have it. So helping them not just allow them to tell you you got it, but really seeing them implement it, right? So if you have a student that say, I got it, I'm good, I'm cool, you all right, I don't need your help, pause. Let me see. Tell them show the receipts. Let me see your planner. Oh, it's in my room. Cool, go get it. My room needs to be clean. Cool. Bring it down in 30 minutes. 30 minutes turn into 45 to an hour to an hour and a half. Because now you're asking for receipts, right? You're asking for the actual planner that they claim they got. And when that happens, parents, guardians, program directors, or youth center organizations, that means they don't know how to implement it. So we got to go back to the drawing board. Helping students close the gaps between dual enrollment or high school to college, they have to tell the truth. They have to be honest with themselves. And because they are students, keep in mind, no matter how prideful or ego, or no matter how they don't want to do it, they're still in a position of teaching, and they need to be taught, even if they're not consistent. And that's the next thing. Consistency. Time management is a barrier, but it's also the solution. Consistency. If a student is on top of it today, and you ask them, hey, how's that class going? Good. When was the last time you checked in? Last week sometime? Well, what did teachers say? What you working on? What your grades look like? Ask them to see it, because they're blinded. They're blinded for a couple of reasons. Not because they want to live in lies or they don't want to face the truth, but It might not look cool. They might be perceived as dumb. It might provoke an automatic argument because they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Or it might lead to deeper issues that they don't want people to know about. Guess what? It's okay. We all special ed. Everybody in America got something wrong with them. ADD, HD, ADHD, some more DDs, right? You name it, we got it. I know I do. I'm on a project and I got like 40 tabs open right now in 3 different browsers. It might be more than 40. That's because when I'm working on a project, I need to stop for a minute and surf, or I keep my phone in front of me because I'm watching a movie because I need a mental break. I don't know. Do I got ADD or ADHD? I don't know. Oh, wait, those aren't even terms recognized anymore. But my point is, help them, parents and students, parents and guardians and whatever, help them face their truth and let them know it's okay. And there might be some strong discussions. Better the stronger discussions now while they're at home in a safe haven with people they trust and people that love them, than them going off to school and having a very tough discussion with their advisor or the financial aid representative that's telling them they're on academic probation and their next semester that they don't bring up their goals or their grades, they out. Which one do you think they will prefer? Former or later? I would gain former. And when they're able to face their truth, procrastination, late night, early morning, too social, not social enough, too pig-headed, too prideful, don't know how to utilize resources, don't let people help them out, the concepts are too overwhelming, so they're not asking for help. When they're able to identify and pinpoint what the problems are, and they can work on it now, those problems will now become their solutions, and then their solutions will be stronger. And the one thing that the real world, which is higher education, expects, they don't want to hear about all of these. My dog ate it. I didn't go to sleep last night. Or, oh, I forgot about it. Or can you allow? No, because the next step outside of higher education is the real world. So this closing these gaps are extremely important right now. Whether your kid is going from elementary to middle, they're still kind of young, they're still developing, but whatever. Conversations, right? Time management, clean your room, make sure they stay on top of their chores, give them a chore, right? Give them responsibility now and help them grow through the responsibilities at home. Deadlines, get up, go to sleep, right? Then when they enter middle school to high school, huge transition, huge issues coming with it, a lot of umbilical cord cutting, but higher expectations, right? Due dates aren't due dates just because they are on a calendar and they will come and go. Due dates are meant to be there for a reason. And when the due date isn't reached, then 9 times out of 10, it's a rippling effect. And then if the assignment is turned in and they're not passing it, red flags that this is a content area, or maybe they didn't study, or maybe they don't know how to study, or maybe they need help, they need tutoring, they need mentoring, they need extra programming, something, red flag. And even if the teacher allows a remake, let them know and understand, parents and coaches and role models, that this is an exception, not the norm. And students, if a teacher gives you 1 ounce of grace, don't take it for granted. Okay? Because in college, you're not going to get that grace or an extension. So, being able to help the student face their truth and to be honest is the problem, but it's also the solution. And as adults, we don't face our truth. We lie every day. My face ain't rocky. I got clear skin. I ain't fat. These clothes just too small. They ain't my beau. He just married to her and he gonna divorce her. Face your truth. I'm not good at I work better under pressure. And I understand that sometimes I don't hit the mark. And I'm gonna work on that. I understand I have good intentions on time management, but I'm all over the place. I gotta do better. And when there is a reflection period, especially by quarters, yesterday in my talk, I talked about it's a transition season, right? And tip number one was reflection, right? So when we reflect on what worked and what didn't work, then that's owning the truth. Dropping my youngest son off this morning because luckily my Hales has finished high school, so it's college now. At least community college, so she goes off on the phone. We were talking about, and I started the discussion with my Hales and her truth, right? And having a discussion with my BJ Bean going to school this morning, we were talking about this semester. And for the first time in 4 years, third quarter, he got a 3.0 but didn't make honor roll because honor roll I think is a 3.5. And I said, well, how did that make you feel? Right? And he was like, I'm all right. And he was like, I'm sad. I'm like, what does sad mean? Sad can mean a lot of things. And in other words, I was trying to get the emotion out of him, right? To own his truth and how he felt. And he said, I typically deal with my emotions internally. And I said, that's good. It is nothing wrong with that. I said, but what I want you to work on is also communicating it outward. Because when you speak it, it becomes a reality. So talk to yourself to get yourself through it. I said, but put a label on it. I'm sad, I'm mad, I'm angry, I'm pissed off. This is not who I am. Because I had to help him to understand that the emotions tied to the outcome third quarter were temporary, not permanent. It's temporary in a sense that it doesn't have to be repeatable. There's still time to make adjustments, but you got to face it first and not run from it. And part of what led to his frustration in earning a 3.0 and not his typical 3.5, 4.5, 4.7 is because he fell behind in submission of his assignments. He had them, he didn't submit them. And in my household, I'm always talking about time management organization, and I'm sharing these tidbits because this is our reality. Show me the receipt. Show me the book. Let me see what you have written and how you're following it. So in his planner, part filled in, part not. Because at the beginning of each semester, college and dual enrollment, my philosophy is pull out your planner and let's put in key dates, especially with college, right? Because we have another method for high school. So with college, what are your due dates? When are they due? When are the tests? When are assignments, right? Pull out the syllabus. I even print them. And then I cut the umbilical cord. I have helped you set up from a management standpoint. Your job is execution because my job is not micromanagement. But I do check in. How your grades going? I go into their grades and I'm asking questions, right? Because that's that check and balance. It's same thing in high school. And then in high school, allowing him to lead and me, they rocking, I'm rolling. I'm rolling along while they rocking. And if I see a gap, then we pull back, right? But it's still up to him. And at one point, it didn't work. And so now I'm having, in my BJ, in my Hales, in my Heaven, and my Brandon are just those answers. How things going? Good? Needing help? Nope. You all right? Uh-huh. You sure? Uh-huh. because you want to trust what the students are saying until it becomes too late. And in that case with my BJ Bean, it was part of his reality he needed to live through, because you won't always have a parent or guardian on top of you. So what do you learn from it? How do you face that? How do you allow your honesty to come out? And those emotions are short term. And like I tell my BJ and my Haley, it's not what's given to you, it's how you react, right? So he got a 3.0, which would be great to other kids, but not to him because he's not used to it. For the first time in 4 years, he didn't make honor roll for a quarter. He was devastated. Cool. Own it, reflect, forecast, lessons learned, develop a plan, work the plan, right? Fourth quarter, we ran into the scenario again a little bit. And now it's becoming his norm versus the reality. My question is, what are you going to do about it? And in my conversation with him this morning, I said, and same thing with Haley. My Haley, I said, you do know concepts, right? For time management. You do know how to apply them, right? Both of them, yes. My question is, are you following them? Nope. Cool. That's your truth. So closing the gap for greater success for dual enrollment versus higher education or trade tech or graduate school or doctoral program is to own your truth. We all have strengths. We all have weaknesses, but it's when the weaknesses outweigh the strength that get us in trouble. And for our students that are stuck between dual enrollment opportunities and higher education aspirations and expectations, they are the key to success. They are in the driver's seat. And our goal, your role, our role as a society, their village, is to help them identify that gap and help them close what those gaps are. And that comes back into personal development. Skill sets, a lack of skill sets, a lack of self-esteem, overconfidence, underconfidence, communication, lack of communication, leadership, lack of leadership, time management, lack of time management, role modeling, lack of role modeling, outreach, lack of outreach, programming. All of these things help them become a whole person or not. But they can't when they take the pieces of a puzzle or of a person to higher education, the issues get deeper, but there are greater stakes. And if we're going to reduce youth employment, youth crime, welfare, poverty, we must address closing the gap, dealing with facing the truth of self at any age, but I'm really focusing on the youth that are transitioning and where they are now. All right. So, do your research. Parents, program, coaches, youth senate leaders, nonprofit leaders, students, do your research in what dual enrollment is, but mainly the higher education expectations, no matter the entity, institution, or destination you land. Become knowledgeable. Don't allow another person to tell you what you really don't know or believe. And let me give you an example. And I'll use what was told to my Hales this quarter in her higher education class. Her professor told her not to email him because he doesn't check his email. So she's young, she's, trusting the adults in this space. And so she would often say to me, Mom, he said, don't email him because he doesn't check his email. And I said, just email him anyway. But again, she takes things literal, like most students. So we looked at her grade and I'm like, why is this your end grade? That doesn't make sense. And we can't access the class. So I said, well, let's email him. And now the course is over and she reflects to me the same thing. He said, don't email him because he doesn't check the email. I said, let's think about this for a second. And she didn't look at this. She didn't have the syllabi to go look at because she didn't download it during the course. I said, Hales, think about it. I said, this professor works for an institution of higher learning. The expectations is that they have to have a syllabus with hours that they are available, an email, a phone number, and how you can get hold of them. Whether they check the email or not is not your problem. I said, but as a student, if you only see your teacher once a week, and at the time you see the teacher, it's all about, that's what I'm thinking about, teaching the course. Where do you have time to have your questions answered? She said, you don't. Exactly. So you email the in the power of email is that if you got to refute a grade or appeal a grade, they're going to go in the system and look at how many times you did outreach to the teacher, right? And if the teacher was non-responsive, that's not your fault. That is the teacher's problem. So when you're advocating for yourself, you got to think differently. You're thinking because your end goal is your grade, the teacher end goal is teaching, and somewhere y'all got to have a happy medium. And teachers fall off, right? They do become overwhelmed. They may not check it frequently. But again, that's not the student's problem. The student's number one job is to advocate for themselves in any and every way possible. And in the syllabus, it is their job to take heed of key information at the beginning of every year and every semester, be it high school or higher education. And there are protocols that they must follow. So the teacher shouldn't have never stated, don't email because I don't check the email, but my Hales should have known better. And this is a learning curve for her. So when we reflected during a discussion, she now knows that even if a professor says, don't email me, email them anyway, because that is CYA, covering her assets. If she has to do an appeal or if she has to follow the hierarchy, if something she doesn't agree with. So the point of this scenario is to become knowledgeable in the process. And last but not least, don't miss out. Dual enrollment is a wonderful concept. But again, time management is a wonderful concept. Becoming a millionaire is a wonderful concept in the making. Having a lot of fans and followers is a wonderful concept. But it's not the concept that makes it reality. It's moving towards becoming knowledgeable, doing the research that makes it realistic. And so when we're thinking about dual enrollment versus higher education expectations, there are it's phenomenal. It's extraordinary. It's outstanding. It is something that every student in America should be taking advantage of. It should be something that every parent is engaging and pushing. It should be something that every program, nonprofit, youth-centered, youth-led should be having as a part of their programming. Dual enrollment opportunities. But it's not just the aspirations of dual enrollment in a concept. It's the reality, and then how you match that reality up to the expectations of the next level. Because it goes back to the individuals driving the car and driving the process and knowing what is and what isn't. And that is the student. And that could be very overwhelming to a student to take on for themselves in today's time, in any time. So do your research, become knowledgeable, don't miss out. And if you're uncertain if your school district offers dual enrollment opportunities, and again, go back and find out what dual enrollment by school system standards mean, please take advantage of it. Well, if you have any questions, need any assistance, need an advocate, need a consultant, need input, hit me up at www.drskemadorsey.org, or from a business standpoint, programming, XYZ, www.dtdenterprises.com, or shout out, give my company a call at 443-431-8943. Well, that is my chat for today. That is my talk. Hopefully you got a lot of great information out of here. It is absolutely jam-packed, download, translate into audio, break it down into pieces by concept. It is things you need to know. And as an educator, 30 plus years, K 12, undergrad, professor, grad, doctoral learners, candidates, making them doctoral holders, raising 4 kids successfully, outcome, following who they are, being a leader, educator, youth development, coach, the whole nine. Just know what I'm sharing with you comes from decades of implementation successfully. If not, go back and look at my bio, www.drtinadorsey.com or www.dtdenterprises.com. Until next time, hit me up, have fun, enjoy your day, and remember, don't put off tomorrow, which you can do today. And with God, all things are possible. Peace out, peeps. It's been good.